May I show you the villa? It has a fascinating history.
Welcome to hell.
Welcome back to Crusader Shorts. In this video we pit two of your favourite heroes and villains against each other. In this video, Kid Anakin versus Darth Sidious. Kid Anakin was the chosen one of the most powerful Force users in the whole Jedi Order before he'd even trained due to his midichlorian account. Anakin was adopted by a tribe of rabid Tusken Raiders and raised as their own because he had no mother or father. Anakin's Tusken Raider family were killed when he was at a very young age after bounty hunter Sebulba raided their camp, killing them all and looting everything. Kid Anakin was the only survivor. After finding out Sebulba was the pod racer champion, Anakin built a pod racer and entered the Moth Spar pod race Grand Prix and went head to head with Sebulba. After a valiant effort, Anakin unfortunately lost the race and decided he couldn't be bothered to win fair and square and wanted his revenge. When Sebulba was cashing in on his money prize, Anakin took out a blaster and shot Sebulba in the back. Anakin enjoyed enacting revenge on his Sand People brethren. He decided to peace out and head back home, living in a tent in his destroyed camp for months, feeding on bantha. Eventually, Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi and his apprentice Qui-Gon Jinn found Kid Anakin face first in the sand, beaten up by Jawas. Although heavily bruised, Obi-Wan and his apprentice took the boy in. They decided to keep the kid themselves to train him in the Jedi ways, and took him aboard their silver ship. When they were about to leave the planet Tatooine, Obi-Wan was ambushed by Darth Maul, some red dude with horns. The Sith had a double-edged lightsaber. Qui-Gon sensed the kid was the chosen one and decided that staying behind to help his master fight the bad guy was a bad choice and a risk, so he closed the boarding platform, preventing his master from boarding the ship. Maul killed Obi-Wan in the duel. To enact revenge, Qui-Gon Jinn blasted Maul with the ship's laser cannons, killing him. He was now the master and he would take Kid Anakin and his apprentice. They flew off, leaving dead Obi-Wan and his body behind in the sand, returning to the Jedi Order. Darth Sidious, aka Sheev Palpatine, was the most overpowered old man in the galaxy. Hailing from the planet Naboo, he grew up as the son of a politician. One night he sneaked out of his window, running away to the palace of the Supreme Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Plagueis, who was a very knowledgeable wielder of the dark side. He trained Palpatine to become a Sith Lord. Plagueis bragged that he could prevent people from dying and create life with midichlorians. Ironic, all of it was simply Plagueis' delusions. Palpatine had known for a long time his master was full of garbage and had been lying to him. One night he decided to sneak into his chamber and slay him in his sleep with his lightsaber. After killing his master, Palpatine became the new Supreme Dark Lord of the Sith, the most powerful being in the galaxy. Some years passed and he became older. In his 40s, Sheev decided to run as a politician because he was good with words. He backstabbed the Chancellor of the Republic Valorum and stole his place. He lied about everything. When he saw Kid Anakin being trained, he decided to take him under his wing, feeding him lies. He told Anakin he could resurrect his mother and his Tusken Raider family through his Force powers his master had taught him, even telling Anakin he murdered his master all for power. Kid Anakin wanted this power for himself, so he decided to be the old man's apprentice even though he was about 8 years old. However, one day Anakin walked in on Palpatine trying to kill Qui-Gon. Palpatine threw Qui-Gon out of the window with Force lightning, causing a duel to ensue between Kid Anakin and Darth Sidious himself. For us to determine who would win in a duel, we must take into account the many factors that come into play. Sheev Palpatine was an adept Force user, so powerful that he could throw electricity from his hands in the form of Force lightning. He blasted Jedi Master Mace Windu thousands of miles across Coruscant, sending him into another star system. He could also control people's minds with his yellow eyes, hypnotizing his victims and forcing them to do anything. Kid Anakin didn't know much about the Force, but he was a good pilot and good with a blaster, something his Tusken Raider family had taught him as a child. Although still a child, he is proficient in all of these skills. However, Kid Anakin has a lot of midichlorians and is the chosen one, so he would probably just use the Force to throw Palpatine out of a window or absorb his lightning like Yoda did. Palpatine would probably try and electrocute Anakin, but Anakin would absorb all of the lightning and throw it back at Palpatine, causing his face to become damaged and even older and melting his fancy dress makeup. If Sidious tried to control Anakin's mind, he'd force push Sidious into the wall and knock him out. I think both these opponents come to a tie in Force powers, as they are both equally as powerful as each other. Darth Sidious, or Palpatine, was a very old man. He was already becoming weak and decrepit. Although he was fragile, he could somersault through mid-air like a torpedo bomb, as seen in the duel between him and Samuel L. Jackson in the third film. He could also deceive other people by using Sith magic to mould a clay mask that he wore to fool people so he looked normal and more younger. Because of this, I think Palpatine would be a strong opponent, because he could mould a new face and disguise himself from Anakin. However, Kid Anakin Skywalker, although a child, was very small and could squeeze into and hide in smaller spaces much more easily. I prophesied that if he duelled Darth Sidious, he would probably crawl into a vent until the old man was tired and then get the drop on him. For physical abilities, I'd have to give the edge to Kid Anakin Skywalker. Sidious had a red lightsaber, crafted from stolen Jedi crystals. He was proficient with the lightsaber, even managing to keep up a decent defense against Mace Windu in their duel. Anakin, raised by Tusken Raiders, could fight well with the lightsaber because he had used clubs and staffs as a Tusken tribe member, as well as a blaster. Because of this, Kid Anakin was proficient with a lightsaber because he had trained with these weapons. I think in a duel, Kid Anakin would keep up his defense for a long time against Sidious, but he would become disarmed. Even so, I believe he would use a blaster to hold off Sidious while he re-equipped himself with his lightsaber off the ground. He would tap into his uber special Chosen One abilities and be on the same level as Darkseid user Sidious himself. Because of these factors, I'd have to give both opponents a tie in dueling abilities. Sidious has barely used vehicles in his life, nearly always getting some servant to drive for him. If the duel started with vehicles, I believe Sidious would crash his ship before he even started, possibly killing himself or crashing and becoming injured. Anakin Skywalker was the best pilot in the galaxy. As a kid, although he lost the pod race against Tusken murderer Sebulba, he knew how to drive a pod racer and could fly any ship in the galaxy. Sidious had not yet created the Death Star, but if he had, I think Kid Anakin would fly a pod racer through the Death Star trench and blow it up. Due to this, I think Kid Anakin would shoot Sidious after he crashed his ship, further injuring him. Sidious would do a sheave spin and somersault through the air, but due to his proficiency, I would give the edge to Kid Anakin in vehicular combat. Using these factors we've put into play, we will create a short narrative to base a fight between both opponents. On the heights of Coruscant on a platform, Darth Sidious puts an end to Qui-Gon Jinn, Kid Anakin's master. As Anakin watches in fear, his master drops to the city streets below. Sidious glances into the distance to see Kid Anakin. He senses much anger and hate in the boy, and knows he now cannot bend him to his will. He gets into a ship, Kid Anakin gets into his pod racer. The two fly towards each other, Sidious crashing, having never even flown a ship before. As Sidious gets up from the wreckage, Anakin flies towards him in his pod racer. Sidious spins through the air, twirling his lightsaber straight through the ship's core. Anakin backflips out of the cockpit to prevent being sliced to pieces. The two enter a battle stance, blades facing each other. As they jump onto a platform, Sidious attempts to throw lightning at Anakin. Anakin absorbs the lightning and throws it back at Sidious, followed by kicking him through two glass windows. Kid Anakin jumps through both windows. As Sidious gets up, he disarms Kid Anakin. With his lightsaber on the ground, Anakin crawls into a vent in the room. Sidious, not knowing where he is, let alone being too large to fit into such a crawl space, looks around the room. Anakin springs from the vent, shooting his blaster at Sidious and forcing his lightsaber back into his hands, followed by kicking Sidious in the face. He uses his lightsaber to deflect lightning into Sidious's face, melting his Force mask. Sidious lays on the ground, defeated by Kid Anakin. Anakin chops off Sidious's hands and takes the batteries out of his lightsaber. Jedi rush into the chamber, arresting Palpatine. Years later, Palpatine is taken as a slave by Jabba the Hutt and thrown into the Rancor pit, where he is killed. Thanks for watching this versus video. If you think the duel would have gone a different way, leave your comments below. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe. I wonder what day it is today. Thanks for watching.